Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
Hey, everybody, it's Jared. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Crime. How do I even approach this one? Today, we're going to talk about one of the most dynamic and sweet and amazing 22-year-olds that I've ever read about. And her name was Laken Riley. She's been huge in the news lately, obviously, because the trial of the guy, the illegal alien from Venezuela, the gang member, I can't even pronounce the gang, and I don't want to give it any notoriety, but the Venezuelan gang that he was a part of here illegally, multiple places, had run-ins with the law, been in jail up in New York, somehow ended up in Georgia, and one fateful day crossed paths with Laken Riley, who was just out on a run on the University of Georgia campus. And I'm sure all of you have heard a lot about her lately, especially because of the election that we just had. Her name came up a bunch, but we really want to dig deep and talk to you about what really happened, who she was, and just the horrific crime and death that she experienced, and most importantly, that her killer is now in prison without the possibility of parole. But I don't know what you were doing at 22. I think back when I was 22 years old. I just reading about everything that Laken was. She was a nursing student. She had gone to Honduras on a humanitarian mission at 19. Just a good Christian girl. She'd actually written a letter to her future husband, which, I'll bet that was just an incredible tearjerker when they read that one in the trial. So, but in order to do this justice, in order to do Laken justice, I have to bring on another Georgia girl who's one of the show favorites, and she is every bit as much of an amazing person as I think Laken was. And her name's Sheryl McCollum, Sheryl Mack.
Hey.
One of my favorite people in the whole world. Sheryl, I don't know if you can possibly fathom how excited I am to talk to you again. I've had you on the show a couple of times, and you've always been a huge hit with the audience. Let me brag about Sheryl Mack here for just a second. She is, you're good with that. You're good for that, right, Sheryl?
I guess so.
Well, I don't care if you're good with it or not. I'm going to do it anyway. She's been a crime scene investigator for, a couple decades now. She is started a cold case society, and I'll have her talk about that a little bit. She's the host of Zone 7, a huge podcast. And if you've never heard of it, you need to look it up, Zone 7. It's on Spotify and everything else. Amazing podcast. She's a rock star. If you've never been to CrimeCon, and you hang out with old Sheryl Mack for just a few minutes at CrimeCon, man, it's like there's a line waiting just to touch her. Like if you can just, she's walking by, and if you can just kiss her feet, it's just absolutely amazing. So that's how I perceive it. What do you think? Sheryl, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
It is so good to talk to you. I tell you, we have both been so busy, but I think today to make time for what you want to talk about is so important. I do. And, you've already kind of set the tone for, who Laken Riley was, but I don't think we could even touch it. I really don't. I mean, if you had a chance to sit in that courtroom or just watch the proceedings, I think we got just a minute little piece of what her life was like.
Well, I definitely want you to talk about your experience. You were there the first day, correct?
I was there the first day of court, yes. And then I was on scene the day after the murder.
Geez. Okay. Well, let's talk about that first. So,
Okay.
Obviously being from Georgia, you've been
Mhm.
on University, Georgia's campus multiple times.
Mhm.
Talk us through that day. What was your experience?
Well, when we got there, I was with Lisa Rabakoff, and Lisa just happened to be in town when, I got the call, will you please go and do any kind of analysis you can so we can understand possibly, what this killer is about. And it didn't take long. I mean, as soon as you get over there where the intramural fields are, it's very obvious that whoever did this walked in and walked out. I didn't believe they used a car. I thought they went back to wherever they were living immediately. Because if you go to the two places she could have possibly parked if she drove to run, there's only two places. And where her body was found is not really near either one. So that told me this killer picked out a vantage point where he could lay in wait. I also believed that whatever he used was kind of at his disposal, either a rock or a stick or whatever. So when you go to where her body was found, in one direction is a path that leads way down this hill, covered in trees, going toward the larger pond. If you turn around and look the other way, there's a set of apartments. So me and Lisa were like, that'll do. So you just walk as the crow flies, and right across the path and right across some railroad tracks and up a little hill, you come right into an opening where there's a parking lot and there's a dumpster right to your right. It's right there. So obviously that would be the first thing that I think any of us would have checked. Turned out that's what he used. He threw her jacket in there, and then he just started, discarded some gloves in the shrubbery. And what we found out later was he had been basically for 73 minutes looking for a victim that morning. 73 minutes. And the first thing he tries, Jared, is to enter a first floor apartment of a young lady that lives alone that was in the shower. So not only has he picked a soft target because she's by herself, he waited until she was even more vulnerable in the shower, meaning she doesn't have a weapon on her. That's what he tried to do. The second person he picked, when that didn't pan out, was somebody that had been running. He didn't know for how long, but I think where he was positioned, if she had come from the larger pond, she would have already come up a hill. And I think he believed maybe she was somewhat fatigued. But he wasn't counting on Laken, I'll tell you that. Because again, what we found out later is that child fought him for 18 minutes, Jared. 18 minutes. And
Yeah.
I don't know if people really get that part, but I even, told a buddy of mine the other day because she just kind of said it. And I was like, but think about it. Could you punch and kick your sofa for 18 minutes? I bet you can't. Not in a real fight. I mean, even professional boxers, they're going to end that round so you can go sit down and catch your breath. She didn't have that opportunity. And I told, my children, I said, I'll just tell y'all at the police academy, we have to fight the guy in the red man suit for 2 minutes, but it's a full-on fight. They don't hold back because most females that go to the academy have never really been in an all-out fight with a man.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you that understanding of what it's going to take to stay on your feet for 2 minutes. I've never been so tired in my life. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever done anything for a sustained cardio like that, wrestling even boxing, something like that, let alone an all-out fight for your life. 18 minutes is an eternity.
It is an absolute
incredible.
eternity.
The adrenaline and the fear that must have been in her mind in order to be able to sustain that is absolutely incredible. And this guy, what an animal. I just, the thought that he would be searching for somebody and be that much of a predator, that he would see a potential target,
Yep.
be able to assess it, and then say, that one's not, I can probably find one easier.
And
Now,
I got to tell you, I've got a pet peeve, and I don't have many, but this is one. I cannot tolerate the term peeping Tom. And the reason I can't tolerate it is it sounds almost like it's not a big deal, that it's just this, it's not violent. They're just looking in a window. Let's just almost ignore it. It lessens what it actually is. To me, it is criminal surveillance. What he was doing is looking for somebody to harm. He wasn't just looking in a window to see if he could happen to see a naked woman for 2 seconds, which is bad enough. This person was actually looking for somebody to rape and murder. That's what he was doing for 73 minutes. So again, I think we need to look at some changing of some laws. That law is way outdated. It's just outdated, and it doesn't in any way suggest what the person is actually doing.
Yeah, well, lots of things need to change. Clearly, there's
a lot of things need to change. Yep.
Yeah. I think a lot of us that live in, seemingly protected areas, safe areas, especially with everything that's happening, it's just a different world now. And there really is no such thing as a safe area. By the way, this gang that this Venezuelan was part of, Tre de Agua or something like that. Anyway, I just read an article this morning that they are active in Utah. So they are active lots of places. And,
we have thousands of people entering this country every day.
Yep.
Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows where they are. But y'all, they know the system. This young man, this monster, was able to get to New York and then get the government to pay for an airline ticket to Georgia, and then knew to go to Athens, where he could live in a sanctuary city, be given food, be given an apartment, help find him a job. It's unbelievable what was done for him, but he knew how to do it.
Oh, yeah. Now, these guys, they know, if nothing else, they know exactly how to work this system and take advantage of it.
Yes.
The thought that we are flying rapists and murderers and all sorts of, thuggish drug dealers, we are flying them around on government expense.
And he was arrested in New York.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he wasn't on somebody's radar. He was. But then they were like, oh, it's only, child endangerment, so we can let him go on. And see, that's the thing. You've got a state like New York. How many people can they possibly take care of? They can't take care of everybody. So to be able to get them to other places is something they're going to do. So whether it's South Dakota or Florida or Utah or Kansas or Nebraska, they're fine with it.
Yep.
So it's not going to be hard to understand how you've got gang members that are now all over this country.
Oh, yeah. Well, I in the 14 years in the military, in the Army that I spent, about 10 of it was in basically military intelligence and trying to decipher what the enemy's doing. And I'll tell you, if I had ill intent for the United States, I would do exactly what is happening right now. What President-elect Trump was talking about, where these guys are emptying their prisons. I mean, think about it. If we could all of a sudden just download, get rid of all of the murders and rapists in our prisons and just say, let them out and say, you have a choice. You can either go back to your cell or you can go to the United States. Which one pick a country.
Sure.
We'll let you go to Brazil. Say, which one do you think they'd pick? And they would absolutely go, yeah, all right. I can't speak Portuguese, but I'll go to Brazil.
Yep.
I mean, they'd do anything to get out of that. And then
it doesn't matter what you call it. We're being
Yeah.
invaded.
Yeah.
That's
It's
it.
100%. It's
I
absolutely
mean, thousands
insane.
of people a day. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care anything about 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You can leave those people completely out of it.
Yeah.
At the most basic form, we are being invaded. Thousands of people a day that we don't know where they are, where they came from. And these other countries that realize, hey, all I got to do is get to Mexico and then I can walk right over. So that's
Yep.
what's happening. They're coming from everywhere.
No, there's gates I've been to the border.
Mm-hmm.
There's gates that are welded open, not welded shut. They're welded open.
And have you been to airports where you see terminals where they've blocked off the entire terminal for people and they're able to sleep and stay there until they can get them a flight somewhere?
Oh, it's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
The thought that there are probably 10 to 12 million people here that have come in the last few years. And they have, some of them are like this guy that murdered Laken Riley. And, it doesn't matter. It only took 20 people to do 9/11, and the damage that they can do. And like you said, there's at least, what did they count up? 13,000 murders, people that are convicted murders. And there's something else that people really need to know. To get convicted for murder outside of the United States, like especially in third world countries like Honduras and Ecuador, a place like that, it is a lot harder to get convicted of murder in those countries. So the fact that they'd probably got actually convicted of 1 in 10. I mean, these people are like basically serial killers by the time they're a convicted murderer in those countries. And there's 13,000 of those types that have made it into the United States, 16,000 rapists. And so the carnage.
Listen, I've had people tell me, but the numbers are really low. I mean, the people that are here illegally and the crimes they commit, I mean, statistically, it's nothing. Let me tell you something. 1 is too many. It's like a drunk driver that runs over and kills somebody. They should have never been on the road. Jose Ibarra should never have been here to murder anybody. Shouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
Should not have been able to even be possible. So I don't care if it's 1 or 300 or 900. I don't care. It's too many.
Well, I'm just talking about the scope of it. It's just such a,
I agree with you, but I'm saying, even if somebody were to come to you and I and say, hey, it's not as bad as y'all are making it out. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. In fact, it's worse. We have no comprehension. And even if they have no ill intent, the whole concept that these people are going to pay for themselves and actually make enough and be productive enough that they'll account for all the services and everything that they use. No, it's ridiculous. All right. Anyway, we're getting riled up here, Sheryl.
But we have to protect each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
we do.
Laken Riley was failed. She was failed by ICE. She was failed by New York. She was failed by Georgia. She was failed by Athens. She was failed. And that's not okay. And it needs to be corrected, period.
No, it's not okay. I mean, and the worst part of it is the most vulnerable and the most innocent are the ones that suffer the most. And so children, young girls like Laken Riley.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.